Hey guys, welcome to a new section. In this section, we'll be starting with models, database, admin and migration. Before moving forward with anything else, let us start with our admin section. So by now you have seen this admin URL many times. If I visit my admin section here, you might see it asks for a username and password. For that, we need to register as a user in our admin panel. So now user can be of different type. It can be a super user. That means a super user have all the powers regarding our application, or it can be a normal user that will have a limited power. So let us first register our super user. That means someone who can control complete application with one username and one password. Just stop your server and use a command python manage.py create super user. Now this will help us to register a new user which have all the power, that is, he is the admin of the website. Select a username and password for your project. I would be using Shubham. You can use admin, you can use your name or anything else. Then you need to provide an email address. Since you are working on a demo project, you can leave this blank. If you are working on a real project, do provide a valid email address. Once that is done, you need to provide a password. Make sure you provide a strong password since Django has their own validation. You need to have at least 8-character password with combination of numbers and alphabet. So here if I try ABCD1234, you might see an error that the password is too common. So that's how Django use its own validation. If you want to skip this validation, just use Y. So we have successfully created our first valid user. Now let us log in, but before that let me run my server. Now let us log in and check out our admin section. My username is Shubham and then password is ABCD1234. Here you can see I currently have 2 fields by default because if you remember we have done certain migration at the starting of the project, that is during our first run. So if you check user, we currently have Shubham, and if I go back you can see there is a group panel. So at currently these are the 2 fields in our admin section. In the next lecture, we will be talking about our own fields. That is, with our to-do app, we are going to register certain models, that is database fields. So we will be doing that in the next lecture. I hope this lecture was helpful and now you can access your own admin section. In the next lecture, let us write our own database queries, that is our own model. So see you in the next one and let us get started with our models for our to-do list app. Welcome back. Now in this lecture, we will be writing models for our project. Before writing our model, we need to visualize our project in terms of database. So what type of data and how much data you need to store in the database. So for our to-do list application, we are either going to write our task and if that task is done or not. So suppose if I talk about a to-do list application for me, so my task would be to create lectures, my task would be to edit lectures, my task would be to upload lectures. So these are my 3 tasks. And then I have an option that it is done or not. So that can be a tick mark or that can be a term as done or not done. So we need to store that. So if it is done, we are going to say it as true. And if it is not done, we are going to say it as false. So at currently what I require in my database is 2 fields. The first one would be to store my task and the second one would be to store that if the task is done or not. Now I hope you are able to understand this and can visualize this. Let us write our model. So to write any model, all you have to do is initiate a class and then give a name to your model. I would be calling it as to-do list or task list. And then inside that you need to pass models.model. Once that is done, now you have to mention these 2 fields which we are talking about. So one is we need to store task. So all you have to do is use task and then you need to mention your models dot its data type. So I would be using car field. That is done. Now I need to mention what is the maximum length I need to accept for task. Like if we are creating a username field, we might accept 15 to 20 characters. If we are creating a password field, we might accept minimum 8 and maximum as 30. So in the same manner, we need to accept the maximum length. So it can be approx 300 to 500 character. So all you have to do is just mention max length and then the character. That's done. So that is our first field. Now the second is if the task is done or not done. So you can use the command as done. So we can use it as boolean. If done is false, that means task is not done. And if done is true, that means task is done. You need to follow the same format, models dot boolean field, and then we need to provide a default value. Why boolean fields? We are going to use true and false. Here we need to provide a default value because once we add a task, it should be not done by default. That means done is false. That's done. So we have created our first model. Now after creating your model, you have to talk about migration because this is currently only in our file. We need to do migration to get these fields in our database. So migration would be followed with two steps. First, we need to run our command make migration, and then we need to run command migrate. We will be following both the commands in the next lecture. Now in this lecture, let us talk about migration. So as I told you, we have to follow two steps. The first one is make migration and the second one is migrate. So let me run my first command and then talk about it. So all you have to do is just use the command python manage.py make migration. Now here you can see it created a .py file inside my migration folder. Let me open that one. And you can see this is the code it generated with a single command, that is make migration. So they have three fields in the database, that is the ID, task and done. So why ID? ID is used to provide a uniqueness to every field. So if I create any task, we can connect with that particular task. We can search for that particular task with the ID because ID would be unique. So I create a task, record course, I created a task, edit course, I created a task, upload course. So if I want to refer any of them, I can use its ID, which is unique and created by Django itself. And it is auto created and it is auto increment. So whenever I am going to add new task, it would automatically increase the number, and also it is primary key. That means it is unique and I can directly refer to it. The next two fields are our task and done. So instead of writing this whole code, we just write our models and run that command. The second step is we need to apply this code. The first step was used to create this file. The second step is to apply this particular code with our Django project. So all you have to run the command as python manage.py migrate. That's done. Now we have this field in our database. So let me run my server and open my Django admin panel. You can see we created our migration. We also applied all the changes, but still we don't have any change in our admin section because we need to register these fields with this particular file, that is admin.py. Now here you need to register all your models that you want to showcase on your admin section. So maybe if this model is not important, you can hide it. If you want to showcase it, you need to register here. Now you might be thinking how to register. So it is a two-step process. All you have to do is just import your model which you want to register, and the second one is add the simple registration line. So let me import my model. So from my current directory, then models, import task list. That means this is my current directory and I need to import this particular file. Or if you want to mention the specific app name, so all you have to do is from app name.models and then import task list, and that would be fine too. So let me add my code, that is admin.site.register, and then you need to pass your model name. So that would be task list. That's done. Let me check if my server is running fine and let me refresh this one. Now you can see we have a task list name here, and let me add few tasks. Later on we will be creating a front-end panel to add these tasks. So let me type my first task, that is to record lecture. And if this task is done or not, it's not done. So by default it is false, and let me save this one. Let me add our second task, edit lectures, and save this one. Now here you can see it's currently appearing as object, that is task list object. Why? Because if you remember, our model is a class and every element which we are going to register will be stored as objects. So we have a solution for that. All you have to do is define str class and then return the name that you want. So let me return task name itself. So all you have to do is use self.task. This looks fine. Since we are not editing anything from database, we don't need to run make migration and migrate again. If we are going to change anything with them, we need to run make migration again. But at currently we are not changing them, so that's fine. So all you have to do is just refresh your admin section and you can see this is our task 1 and this is our task 2. This looks fine. The next thing I want to talk about is this data type. So there can be different data type which you want to use. So Django model has bundles of data type. So they have email, they have date and time, they have characters, that is for text, they have for numbers, they have for decimals, for floating point and all the other things. What is the advantage of these data type? They have certain filters. So if I'm using a data type for email, it will have a certain filter automatically and I don't have to worry much. If I'm using a password field, I don't have to worry much regarding the minimum length, maximum length, different conditions like you need small alphabet, big alphabet, numbers, spatial symbol and all the other thing would be taken care by Django. So that is the use of data types with models in Django. So I hope by now you understand about these data types. Do check them out and it would be really useful. And I also hope by now you understand these objects. Let me edit the name and add something here. Here you can see that I am able to see the changes, and if I go back and let me change few things here. Let me also add for done. Since this is a boolean field, I need to convert it into string. If I refresh this one, you can see this is false, this is false. And if I change any one of them, this task is done. So it is true. So that's how we are going to play with our models. I hope this lecture was helpful. Now you understand about writing models, migration and also admin file. In the next lecture, let us continue playing with our models and also fetch all the data and show on our to-do list page. Thank you for following this lecture. See you in the next one.